AD 43 and you happen to be a Roman, there is breaking news. The Roman Empire has control of the British Isles. The Emperor Claudius is in control and he begins the conquest of this new land. You see, this process was not quick. While it started in 43 AD, it lasted until AD 87, after the Stanagate Road was constructed. However, before the Romans, the British were in the Celtic era, composed of numerous small tribes. These tribes were volatile, and they were constantly at war with each other and could not be at peace, made even worse by the Romans. Before then, no major rebellions actually happened in Roman Britannia, up until the 60s, that is. In 60 AD, the Celtic tribe known as the Iceni, led by Queen Boudica and King Prasutagus, paired with the neighboring Trinovantes tribe and unveiled mass casualties on the cities of London, St. Albans, and Colchester, having them completely destroyed, all over a broken alliance to treat the Iceni as a client kingdom. What's even worse is that sources say that the Romans inhabiting the Iceni tribal land raped and killed the daughters of Queen Boudica, causing mass outrage. This conflict was big, so big that it led to the burning down of 3 cities, 70,000 deaths, and fear to the Celtic tribes. There being no major conflicts ever again up until the Anglo-Saxons. While the Celtic tribes had a huge case against Roman rule, they were wildly outnumbered, causing the Roman army to have a supreme victory, continuing to rule their vast territory in the British Isles. While it seemed all was going well under the 350-year-long rule of Britannia, conflict began to emerge. The British Isles at this point were in 2 sections, the Roman Britons in the south and the Picts in the north. To put it simply, the Picts did not like the Romans, and Hadrian's Wall was not keeping them out. By AD 396, Stilco's Pictish War began. Despite a Roman victory, along with Anglo-Saxon marauders, Roman Britannia was in despair, and by 418 AD, under the rule of Magnus Maximus, Roman presence in Britain was over. Regardless of the fact that Britain is no longer a part of the Roman Empire, many of the Romans who migrated to Britain held on to language, culture, and religion. If this era of Britain had to be described, it would be a salad bowl. The British Isles were a large mix of Celts, Romans, and Britons. However, that was going to change quickly. Many marauder Germanic tribes, known as the Angles, the Jutes, and the Saxons, and the Frisians, began to rapidly migrate to Britain, seeing potential in new land, stark from their overpopulated and flooded tribes. One of the most forgotten Germanic tribes were the Jutes, yet they played a crucial role in migration to Britain, establishing the very first settlement of the Anglo-Saxons, now known as Kent in southern England. Legend has it that brothers Hengist and Horsa, leaders of the Angles, Saxons, and the Jutes, received an invitation to Roman Britannia by the British warlord Vortigern to help fend off the attacks of the Picts. Despite having a decisive victory, the brothers requested assistance from their Germanic tribes and ultimately led to the mass migration of Anglo-Saxons to Britain, leaving some parts of their homeland, like England, completely deserted. Prior to that, these tribes covered massive amount of lands in their Germanic homes, like Saxony, England, and Jutland. Because of that, their culture had differences from town to town. Despite these tribes and their deep connection to poetry, spoken storytelling, and warrior culture, people to this day still feel the effect that these tribes had. Every December, billions of humans meet with their family, decorate their tree, feast on food, and celebrate Christmas and the tradition around it. However, most didn't know that the roots of Christmas predate Christ himself. Yule, known to the Norse as Yule, was a festive holiday that took place on the winter solstice to celebrate the return of the sun after months of grueling winter. To commemorate the sunlight, people who celebrated Yule would gather and scavenge a large log or tree known as the Yule log and burn it down with candles or fireplaces to symbolize light. However, starting in 772 AD, the gradual process of Christianizing these Germanic tribes, led by the Franks and their ruler Charlemagne, transformed the holiday of Yule and its traditions by combining them with the holiday we know all too well as Christmas. At this point, it's smart to question why they actually moved. Wasn't their homeland so great? Not quite. Despite their elaborate tradition and warrior culture in their native land in tribal Germany and Denmark, there were major issues. The regions of England, Jutland, and Lower Saxony majorly lack elevation. In fact, on average, the Jutland Peninsula has an average elevation of 36 feet. Because of this, flooding commonly occurred, and often destroying valuable farmland and then branching off into other issues. But Britain was basically a shining beacon because not only did they have amazing farmland, they were also super vulnerable, and that birthed the legend of Hengist and Horsa. Without doubt, the Anglo-Saxons had a remarkable migration to Britain, staying completely in power until 1066, marking the beginnings of a new era of Britain under the Normans. Once arrived, the Anglo-Saxons rapidly expanded territory across Britain, stark compared to their humble beginnings in the south. The first Germanic tribe to arrive in Britain were the Jutes, after the invitation by Vortigern, landing in the city of Ebbsfleet in 449 AD, inside the first Anglo-Saxon kingdom, Kent. While the Anglo-Saxon period of Britain lasted over 6 centuries, their time came to an end with the Norman invasion. However, the Anglo-Saxons were remarkable for their immense transfer of culture, language, and identity, leading Great Britain to evolve the English language and ultimately become the largest empire in the world. This has been a Denken production.